Thank you, everybody. We'll start the England press conference now with Coach Steve Borthwick and Captain Owen Farrell. Straight away for questions, please raise your hand. First one in the middle.
Hi both. Steve, how do you assess that? You got over the line in the end, but are you sort of, how do you view it? Well, I assume happy to win, but how do you rate the performance?
So the first thing I'll say is immense credit to Samoa. I thought they played brilliantly. They talked about it being their World Cup final, and that's exactly how they played. And they really forced us into a lot of errors. So it was a very scrappy performance for long periods by us, and a real tough test. And I think that as we look towards now, as I can look towards next week, what would I wanted today? A really tough test. And that's exactly what we got. So whilst there was lots of things that weren't at the required standard, there was lots of errors, mistakes, scrappiness. And for a period, there was too many penalties conceded. What then happened was the players got hold of it on the pitch and found a way to get the result at the end of the day.
So not something to be overly frustrated about, and potentially a good thing.
I think, as you'll know me by now, I look at everything in incredible detail and try and capture every learning possible. So we win, we draw, we lose, whatever. I'm capturing the learnings from it and making sure we're a better team going forward. Now, this will be, because it was such a tough test, I think it's the kind of test we needed this week going into next week. So there'll be learnings from it. We'll make sure we take them thoroughly, and we'll perform better next week.
Owen, how do you see that similarly to Steve? And I wanted to ask about the being timed out for the kick. Is it going to happen to someone at some point? How I assume you obviously just weren't aware how close you were to the clock.
No, I was unaware of the. I didn't see the clock. It was above where I was picking my target, and I obviously got lost a little bit in the kick. But that's not good enough. And thankfully, I'm glad for the team's sake that it didn't cost us. Hopefully that mistake doesn't happen again. In terms of the performance, massively along the lines of what Steve just said. I think a big credit has got to go to Samoa and how they came out firing. Put us under pressure at times. There'll be loads of stuff that we can do better from that we'll watch over and see in detail, like Steve said. But glad with the fight that was shown towards the end, both in getting the try and finding a way, but also after that scrambling back so that Samoa didn't score as well.
Steve, can I just check on if you've made a decision on who the replacement will be for Jack?
That's not confirmed yet. I'll be confirming it very soon.
Okay, thanks.
Right, next question over here.
Owen, is there any concern over the fact that several areas of the game just didn't function properly today?
We'll look at what we could do better. Obviously, we'll review the game properly. We'll see what we can do better, and we'll prepare accordingly. The game is what it is now, and we've got a choice to make of what we do with it. As I said, it was scrappy, and we've got to turn that into a motivation for us of what we can do better, and I'm sure this team will.
Steve touched on there, but is this kind of what you needed before the quarterfinals in a way?
I think it's good that we've had a tough test match. Samoa are a tough team, and they showed that in many different ways today. And as I said, they put us under pressure at times, and that can only put us in good stead. And it's now what we do with that performance and how we take them learnings and put it into our preparations going into next week.
Owen, can I ask for your thoughts on breaking Johnny Wilkinson's points record? I don't know if it's something you want to talk about, but yeah.
I've not got too many thoughts. I've already said it's obviously a massive honour even to be in contention, to be around long enough to be in contention. The lads have just given me a nice presentation in the change rooms there, which was nice. But I think my focus has fully been on us this week. My focus probably will be on us over the next next couple of days as well. So it might be something to look back on and appreciate that a bit more later on. But having said that, it is a huge honour.
Can I ask what they gave you in the presentation?
A framed picture and a gift.
Excellent. And Steve, your thoughts on Owen breaking the record as well?
Well, I think it's testament to a man who has dedicated himself to being the very, very best he can be. And the best player he can be, the best leader he can be, the best person around the squad. And I think that he's an incredible role model. And I was chatting with a couple of people yesterday, and their young children, the person they taught, I said, who's your favourite? Who do you look up to the most? And there's this man. And so for this guy to have the impact on so many lives, be such a great role model, it's a privilege for me as coach to be able to work with him. And hopefully, there's going to be many more times to be in that England shirt and continue to play as well as he does.
Owen, can I ask you how you rate the England midfield, the one that played against New Zealand in 2019 in the semi-final? How do you think that functioned today?
Well, I don't think it's about the midfield. I think it's about the performance as a whole. We'll obviously look at what parts that bit can do better, and of course there will be plenty that we can do better. But the main thing is the performance on a whole. As has been said, we will look back at it properly, and we'll make sure we'll find the bits that we feel like we can do better and put that into next week.
But you are the midfield is also part of the jigsaw. It's not just the jigsaw outside the midfield. So you have a role there, and given what happened on the field, can I again ask that question? How do you feel it went as a unit?
I'd say it's the same as the performance. We'll look at that. We'll see what we can do better. That is part of the performance. You're right, and we'll look back at it and see the bits that we want to improve, and we'll make sure we do.
Next question at the back, thanks.
Steve, there could be a way of looking at this match that you've already qualified for the quarterfinals before you play. Are you interested in any argument that says that contributes to the performance, or do you give that any credence at all, or have you no truck with that?
I think one of the things you've always got to do is ensure as a coach that you're attuned to where everybody's at, attuned to where the thought process are, and everybody certainly knew that is the situation as you described. So I worked exceptionally hard to make sure we focused upon the performance we want against Samoa. And was it the performance that we wanted? No. There was areas that were just very scrappy, as I just discussed. We were put under enormous pressure, and there was periods where we were not at the required standard. Now these players have got to recover, they've got to regenerate, recharge, and then as of Monday we'll start test week, going into a quarter final that we'll be very excited about.
We're here in the front, and then we're coming to the middle.
Hi, Steve. Regardless of how the match panned out, and in terms of the pressure and the toughness of the test, in terms of style and how Samoa play, could there have been a sort of better dry run with what's likely to come next Sunday in terms of the style of the Pacific Island teams?
So we know that, and as everybody knows, it's highly likely that we're facing Fiji, although not confirmed yet. So we're preparing for all eventualities as a coaching team. And as I said, I think today was a great test for us. A lot's been said about this England team before, about being in tough circumstances, and a lot of people have written things and said things about when the team's in tough circumstances, what they then do. Now, the team was in tough circumstance today. We didn't want to be there. We didn't want to actually play the way that got us into that tough circumstance, but this team found a way out of it. And I think what you're seeing now is a team that finds their way through games, navigates their way through situations, which has been an oft criticised element of this team. I see a team that finds a way. I see a team that never stops. Now, have we got to be better? Yes, without question, we want to be better. And we'll learn from it, and we'll be a better team next week.
A question here in the middle, and then we're on the left.
Bonjour, aujourd'hui c'était votre deuxième match à Lille et dans une super ambiance. Est-ce que vous ressentez l'attente populaire autour de votre équipe?
So if I take that one, so as I understood, it was a question about how we're feeling about playing in Lille.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'll say the England support throughout this tournament has been nothing short of phenomenal. When the first game we had down in Marseille, that we went down to 14 men after 2 minutes, and the crowd stepped into that void. The England supporters in the crowd stepped into that void and helped this team. Then this helped the team enormously in Nice, and then coming up to Lille, whereas even more. I was reflecting when the anthems were sung today. That was one of the loudest anthems I've heard. And playing away in France in the World Cup, it was just phenomenal. And I'm sure that the supporters will be there in numbers. Incredible numbers next weekend in Marseille.
Steve, Owen, just wondering, you've had tight match against Samoa now, tight match against Fiji. There's a lot of hype for Fiji-England quarterfinal. Do you think there should be more Pacific games against England, either in the Pacific or in England after the tournament?
So I've heard that discussed a few times, and certainly my experience of coaching with Japan, it was really important for the development of the Japan team through that period to be playing and testing themselves against the top nations. You'll understand. I see the importance of that, but you also understand that right now is the time for either reviewing this game and looking to next week, not necessarily about the structure of long term and other aspects. I'll very happily talk about that post tournament.
With that in mind, have either of you ever been in a situation where you've seen a try reversed after the conversion has been taken?
I knew it was a rule, yeah.
But have you ever experienced it yourself or been in a game where that's happened?
I don't know if it's been in a game. I've seen it before.
We've got time for one or two more questions. Any more questions from the floor? Yes, here in the middle.
Hi, Steve, can I check, were there any injuries tonight, or did everyone come through okay?
I haven't received the full medical report. Manu took a knock. I don't know the severity of it, but it meant to leave the field. But yeah, I've got no knowledge of any of the severity of the injury.
And just, obviously Marcus came on and looked lively again. Was that always kind of the plan to make that change at some point in the game, to see, a sort of different iteration of the back line and just, give that a chance to gel as well?
So one of the things we're certainly trying to do is we're trying to expedite things very, very fast here. So we had the coaching team together for this Rugby World Cup preparation period. We have combinations we want to play and work together. For obvious reasons, there's been some combinations that we haven't necessarily been able to run very much recently. So what we're trying to do, when I talk about learning, you should take me very seriously. We are working every minute to learn from every minute of game, every minute of training, because that's what we need to do. And I think what we see is, whilst the performance is not what we wanted today, I think you've seen an England team that's worked to improve consistently. I reflect again that there's been many times where these players have been written off quite badly. There was many times, and I said at the start, I said all the way through the summer, the team will be ready for September the 9th. The team was ready for September the 9th. And then it's continued to build, and ultimately there was many people who wrote that this team would not get out of the group stages. And the team's progressed. And now what this team will do, and I said it before, the character of these men, I just think is outstanding. And they follow this man next to me. He was just an example of it. So the big players perform on the big stages, and I know they're all looking forward to next Sunday in Marseille.
We've got one last question, so here in the front.
Bonjour. Ce match fut aussi celui de 3 plaquages décisifs, Ford, Kerr, Lawrence, sur des occasions des Samoans. Pouvez-vous nous en parler de ces plaquages décisifs?
I'll go, yeah. As we said before, I thought the fight that was showed was excellent towards the end of the game. I think you can also add George to that at the start of the second half, and that's both sides of the ball. I thought we found a way to get the try towards the end of the game, which was obviously needed, and then the effort to scramble when we was under pressure towards the end of the game was outstanding, and ultimately that's what led to us winning the game.
Thank you, everybody. That closes the England press conference. We'll be opening the mix zone in about 5 minutes. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Owen. Cheers. Thank you.